Soap has been around for thousands of years in different forms dating way back to ancient Greek and Roman times. But it's only in the 17th and 18th century that soap began to be mass produced as we got more aware of diseases. However, what did we use thousands of years ago when we didn't have the likes of the synthetic soap that we see today? And the answer is things like this: ivy. This tree beside me is a European ash tree, and it has ivy growing up it. Now there are two subspecies of ivy here in the UK. There is hibernica, which is ivy that grows along the ground, and then there is the helix, or Hedera Helix, which grows up trees. This is the one that we'll be looking at to make our soap. It's a common misconception that ivy can strangle trees, and in a way it does affect trees getting blown over in storms because it acts as a sail during the winter months. However, this particular species, Hedera Helix, can support up to 50 different species throughout the year. One of the most important things is that the berries tend to grow on it year round, and that's an important food source and nectar for birds and bees, especially during winter. Hedera Helix has an active compound called saponins. This comes from the Latin word sapo, meaning soap, and it's this active compound that we need to extract in order to be able to make our soap. When you look at an ivy plant like this, it seems like there's two different types of leaf growing on it, and it's not actually the case. It's just that one is a juvenile young leaf and the other is a more mature leaf. So here is a prime example. This leaf here has separate lobes coming off of the leaf. This is the juvenile leaf, the younger leaf, whereas this one has more of a spear-like shape, and that's the mature leaf, and that's the one that has a higher saponin content, and that's the ones that we're going to try and collect. It doesn't matter too much if you collect these, but it's a bit more ideal getting the more mature ones. I'm just going to pick some of these leaves, and I pick normally, I don't know, 20 to 80, depending on how much detergent kind of soap mixture I want to make, but I would say a good sort of double handful. And some people might be thinking, what about poison ivy? If you touch that, you're in big trouble. And that is very true. It's important to be able to identify the ivy that you are picking. And this one here in Britain, it's very common. This is Hedera Helix. So make sure you learn to identify the ivy before you pick it. And I'm okay holding these in my hands, but some people can get skin reactions and it can be irritating on some people's skin, a bit like normal soap can be anyway. If you want to, you could wear gloves to prevent it from irritating your hands. So I've got the leaves here in this container. This is actually the container I'm going to boil them in, but I'm going to split them from the stems and just put them into this portable folding kitchen sink. And the great thing is that you can do this whilst you're having a fire anyway. It's not like it's any extra kind of effort other than the picking of 20 odd leaves or 30, leaves. So you can do this whilst you're just waiting for a coffee. I've got Jax, my dog, here with me today. He's causing havoc. The reason I'm pulling them off the stems is because the stem itself is thin. It doesn't really have many of the saponins in it. It's just easier to get a good, better quality yield of mixture of soap if you take them off the stems. You can still do it with the stems on, by the way, no problem. I'll fill this billy can with water. Get that on the fire. While that's boiling, or getting to boiling, I'm actually going to start ripping and tearing a lot of these leaves. So saponins occur naturally in a number of vegetables like spinach, peas, soybeans, but ivy actually has a higher percentage of saponin than those. And to better extract these saponins, I tear and rip the leaves apart, and this damages the plant cells that contain the saponins and basically helps to release them better. So you can obviously do this with gloves. You could mash them with a stick, that also helps, but just doing it while the water's getting to a boiling point. Right, water's almost boiling. I'm going to start putting the ivy in regardless, because it's going to boil in a minute. I think this was about 80 leaves in the end I did. 70 to 80 leaves. So I'm going to chuck all those in. I'm going to use a stick to just mash them into the water. So I've cracked them and ripped them. Now I'm just gently mashing them, because it will help to release the saponins a little bit more. Again, I'm just damaging the plant cells basically to release it. Now bring that to boil, and then I'm going to leave that for about 15 minutes on a rolling boil. Right, that's had around about 15 minutes, still boiling. Every sort of 5 minutes I've just mashed it with the big stick just to kind of release a bit more of the saponins, but 15 minutes is enough, and it goes a total green colour. Right, I'm going to leave that to cool now for around about 15 minutes, and then we'll decant it into something like a Nalgene bottle or a clear bottle that I've got, so you guys can see the colour of it and how the soap works. But we'll just leave that to cool now. Probably another 15 minutes. You can see it's kind of a greeny colour. Still a bit warm, but it's not hot enough to do any damage to the sort of plastic. It's actually foaming already as I pour this in. Let me show you. As I'm pouring it, there's bubbles forming. You'll be able to see the bubbles get agitated as I pour it. See the bubbles? That's the saponins doing their job. Frothing it away. So you can see now, that's the colour it goes, where it takes on obviously the green hue of the leaves. But if I shake this, look how much it froths up at the top. All bubbles. And that's all from nature, from ivy leaves. So one of the situations you can use this is obviously washing things. You can wash your hands. I'm going to pour some in here. And it's still warm, so it's really quite soapy now. But that warmth I think actually does help. But look at the bubbles in that. It's got a real sort of nice natural earthy smell to it, which I like. For example, you could have hiking socks that you've been wearing for days, been out on the trail, they're starting to smell. You can just get these in that ivy soap, just clean them, just wash them, get that soap in there, squeeze it in, it acts like a sponge. You still see, even after that, and I wring it, the bubbles are still there. It's amazing, amazing stuff. And this is how they would have used soap thousands of years ago. This is one of the many ways they would have used soap. There's loads of different ways they did it, with various animal fats and vegetables, etc. And this is just this is 1 litre. Obviously, if I used a bigger amount of water, I can get a bigger amount of soap, and I could put that in a bottle and store that, and that would last months. Just for a natural soap, detergent. That's what the leaves go like once the saponins have been released into the water. But you can still, this last bit is quite highly concentrated. It's in there, so that'd be really good soapy stuff. Again, pour that into my my cup container. But that's the super concentrated stuff. So if I put the lid on that and give it a shake, you can see the bubbles on this one. It's mad. Super bubbly, that. So don't waste the end bit of the container that you cook it in or boil it in, because that is mega soapy stuff. Very frothy. The bubbles on that, amazing stuff. I always keep a bit of cordage in my possible sort of pouch, and then in here I keep these little wooden pegs, a couple of these, piece of card there, just take 2 of those.